here we are.
We're here. We landed.
With Mr. Hugh O'Donnell, the man, the myth, the legend. No, super excited to have a chat. It's been a while since we caught up. We only met yesterday, and we've known each other for many years, and you've done some work within our community before. It's going to be awesome to record a conversation. A lot has happened since then. A lot has happened in, I think, all of our lives. And it'll be just nice to kind of touch on a couple of things today over a conversation, see how you're doing.
Definitely.
See what's coming up for you at the moment, where life is trending, what's been happening in your world. But yeah, let's hear a little recap of your kind of journey.
Firstly, thanks for having me. I'm pumped to just dive in and drop in. It's good to set intentional time to actually catch up. You know, quick chat at the coffee shop. Very different to a sit down, let's dive deep. So it feels nice. So thank you. But yeah, to kind of, for everyone listening, to kind of go back, probably relate to a lot of barbers out there that started just cutting. Started out as a freelance videographer. Had no idea what I was doing. Literally would buy some product off a shelf, shoot an ad, watermark it, and cold outreach to someone on LinkedIn, normally the founder, and hope that they would see it and want to buy it. And often they'd test it, they wouldn't see anything. But one day we saw a response from Davey Fogarty, who owned the Oodie. And he was pretty well at the start of the Oodie back then, and he launched one of our creatives that we shot. And we had my best friend Noah and my business partner at the time shooting it. I was in the ad, and our soon-to-be GM, a few years later, was putting white makeup on my face, making me look cold, but it actually made me look dead. And somehow the novelty of that ad, he ran it and it absolutely pumped. I think he got like a 25 ROAS. And he called us up and said, boys, can you go and make 30 of these? And so that was kind of kickstarting my career from being someone kind of scrapping to get by, barely being able to pay for food, to trying to figure out how to build a business. Coming from, I suppose, like a very creative mindset, being a musician and a videographer, to someone that now had to figure out the frameworks, the logistics, the business side of things. And aggressively grew in our first year, just kind of cowboyed it and met each challenge. And then tripled in our second year, which was crazy. And then grew again and just went through multiple setbacks and challenges. And there was, one day where I just woke up with crippling anxiety, just going, I don't know how I'm gonna face all this. And that was like an ongoing theme for a little while, for a few years. And it was actually in that journey that I think I met you, that we crossed paths at a breathwork event and a workshop. Where I think we were both cracked open.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, same. At that time, we were also going through some stuff in our business journey that was making us explore ourselves on a bit of a deeper level. But yeah, when we met, it was like just instantly to see eye to eye. But yeah, what an incredible journey so far. And I think that's, for me too, like in entrepreneurship and starting businesses, designing businesses, and running businesses, a lot of it's just in those phases. For me, it's been like wake up and just figure it out on the day. Like we just got to figure out what's the next thing and what's the next thing and what's the next thing. It's not like having this grand plan. That all comes together over time and with experience. But there's a quote that I love. It's like, you can't learn to surf by reading a book. So like oftentimes people will say to me, like I spoke to one of our clients yesterday on the phone, and he was like, are you guys like qualified to do what you're doing? Like, I was like, well, the only qualification we really need is the results that we've got for ourselves in our lives. And like, I always thought like business studies in college was just like this kind of stupid thing.
Just a piece of paper.
Kind of like a lot of people who do it, I'd love to see percentages. I don't know what the percentages are, but I'd love to see how many people actually go to college or uni for business, take the piece of paper or the degree and actually go and start a business and then have a successful business. I just think in the meantime, whilst you're doing all of that, you could have just started a business and figured it all out anyway.
Just going on that journey of figuring it out.
Because when you get the piece of paper, you're going to have to go and figure it out again, because you're still going to have all the setbacks. And then what happens if it goes off the fucking rails at one point? And we have setbacks and different things happen. It's like, oh, they didn't teach me how to deal with this in school. It must not be working.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not going to do business. I'm just going to be an employee again. Or,
Yeah. I don't know it.
Yeah. So that's super interesting. Throughout the journey, obviously that's just a synopsis of where you're at now.
Yeah, that was kind of like part one, I suppose.
Yeah. So you with CC, you guys did amazing things. Worked with hundreds of brands?
Yeah, it was
hundreds.
It was crazy. Yeah.
You kind of owned like the TikTok space when that was all kicking off. And then now you're not involved anymore.
So
the company was sold.
Yeah.
You guys are doing different things.
Yeah, it was a journey. I mean, coming back to that point where I met you, I think it was a really interesting place because I kind of learnt, I suppose, some of the skills on how to manage my inner world. And I think a lot of people think business and, you know, being successful in business is like, okay, there's these steps, go and do them. But as we all know, in going and attacking that journey, it's about how you apply yourself to those steps and what actually happens through that process. And for me, that was the big unlock. I got to the point where I woke up and I'd feel great about the day and know that I had the capability to handle those challenges. And yeah, went through a bit of a journey from that point, from scaling and repivoting to TikTok to having to kind of steer the ship as the market evolved. We saw so many companies come up, copying our offer. And so for me, I got really good at seeing what was happening in the market and having that kind of constant touch with customers to be able to evolve what we were doing pretty quickly compared to some of the big agencies out there that would take a year or two to pivot. And so my thing at the end of my career was like constant offer evolution and how that flowed into our front end, from our ads to our sales team to the delivery, even the way that we retain clients. And I think I was really, really happy that I didn't give up in those moments that I had that crippling anxiety, because without that unlock, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now. And in that journey, I had business partners kind of, I suppose, fall off, like not really wanting to be as involved. And a lot of challenges and moving parts and just trying to navigate that. And got to the point where one day here in Bali, had a chat with my business partner and he was like, I'm not keen on this. I'm not feeling aligned. And for me in that moment, I was like, poor, because I was ready for a 10-year journey, you know, just unlocked all this stuff, ready to go from 5 mil to 10 mil. And more so to like have an impact on creators around the world and have TikTok be this platform that they can use to support their lives. And I was like, oh. And for the first time in a while, I kind of zoomed out and I was like, why am I doing this? You know, what is this all for? And I kind of realized I was just chasing the next mountain, constantly chasing that next mountain. And it felt really nice to actually accept the idea that this isn't my forever thing. And so, yeah, we eventually put it out to the market, and one of our first clients, believe it or not, Greta Van Riel, who's like a Forbes 30 under 30 entrepreneur.
I know.
Wanted to buy it, yeah. So, yeah, I was in handover for 6 months, and when I was finally out, it felt like a really interesting place to be. I was like a little bit lost, a little bit like, oh, what am I doing? But I always knew that I had this inner drive to give more, and it felt like these bigger brands, you know, you're within the framework of a corporate realm. You know, it's all about performance and brand, and there wasn't much more you could do to actually change people's lives, I suppose. So it feels really nice now to be stepping into more of a mentorship role and consulting and helping people, I suppose, where I was maybe 2 or 3 years ago in that agency realm that are struggling, or creatives that have amazing ideas, that are super passionate and talented, but can't share those ideas or get their message out to the world. So yeah, it's kind of been a bit of a take 2 steps back to take 10 forward.
I can really relate to that, especially the not giving up part when it gets hard. I think just when people are about to make like the breakthrough, you know, whatever you want to call it, God, the universe is showing you like this is the next part of the puzzle for you. Like the obstacle is the way, right? It's that kind of a philosophy. But what's really cool in that, and I think what is super valuable to hear, is like for you and Noah, when you just started, like you were just having fun and like trying shit out and like throwing spaghetti at the wall, and then something stuck. Yeah. And it's like, oh, like we have to actually just figure this shit out now. Yeah. And I think, you know, a a big part of, I think, success in business and entrepreneurship is just having the underlying belief that we just have to figure this out, and we believe that we will.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure, like, you guys were speaking to, like, you probably have a couple of key moments, I would imagine, in your mind where you get the call or the email from a big brand, and it's like, oh shit, like, can we do this? Like, but there's no doubt that, like, okay, we are gonna fucking do this. And I see so many people retreat in those moments when it's like you either retreat or you just go fucking balls to the wall.
Yeah.
And it sounds like that's what you guys did.
Definitely. Yeah, there was definitely a few moments. And the funny thing is that me and Noah's relationship started out surfing. So with your surfing analogy before, it's kind of like you get called into a wave, your mate's calling you and you can't not go.
Yeah. And when you're there, you got to commit.
Yeah. And there's a big wave coming. Yeah. And there's a shallow reef in front of you, you got to go. Yeah. So it was cool, like, having that kind of connection in that friendship realm and bringing that through the business that carried us forward. Yeah. But I'm sure it's the same for you guys. Yeah. Was there a moment where you felt like there was a time where it was like, okay, we're in now, this is serious? Or like, when did that shift kind of occur for you guys for the first time?
Yeah, I think in multiple facets. I think our backgrounds kind of led into it as well. Like, for me, with cycling, it was very similar to the surfing. There's just moments in bike races where if you don't go, or if you don't take the risk, or if you don't push when you don't feel like pushing, you could actually be putting yourself in a big moment of danger.
And those packs.
Yeah, like
just in those pile-ups.
You have to commit. And I had a saying that I used to say to my teammates when I was cycling, because as I evolved as a cyclist, I kind of, in my later years, started to kind of take on a bit of a leadership role within the teams. Like, oftentimes I'd be put as, like, road captain. Like, I wasn't the best, but, like, I would be able to kind of see what was coming and, like, keep the kind of team together, and spot danger or whatever it was. And even when we were out training and stuff, I remember, like, young kids coming over to Belgium. Like, I was 21, I was still a young kid, I was 21, and they were like 18. You know, it's not that big of a difference, but it's their first time in a foreign country. And they're just doing stupid shit on the bike, like, you know, hesitating, right? Like,
it's like the worst thing you can do.
So I had a saying back then, and I was like, hesitation kills. And I would fucking lose it at these guys, like, because they, like, we'd be out, like, it's dangerous. Like, we're out on bikes, cars around the place, and, like, you either commit to a corner and take it, or you don't. It's the same on the bikes here in Valley. Like, there's a certain element of, like, hesitation will kill you. Like, if you pull the brakes, you're getting hit by a fucking car. You know, like, you gotta just go sometimes. Like, and the hesitation kills. So, like, that's a cool kind of quote to kind of bring up as well. Yeah. And a philosophy to kind of bring back. And I think the same thing with business. It's like the hesitation will kill us, or it will kill an idea, or it will kill a bit of flow. Sometimes we'll get an idea and we'll just be like, all right, we're just doing it.
Nice.
No hesitation.
Yeah.
This is what it feels like. And letting go of things in the same way as well. Just because we built what we've built up to now doesn't mean we have to hold on to it. Yeah. Like, we left the hair industry, barbering, in our peak. The best we were, the most we were charging. Yeah. We left it behind. Education, in our peak, the best it was going, the most we were charging, the most we were booked, we left it behind. Because it's like the rocket ship, right? Like, as it continues to go up, it's like it becomes smaller and smaller and less things. So I think, you know, it's baked into our kind of life philosophies and our backgrounds. Leigh also has a background in, like, bodybuilding. And
I played a lot of sport growing up and stuff like that. But for me, something I learned about me only about a year ago is my birth year is actually in Chinese. The Chinese zodiac is the horse. Right. And the horse does whatever he wants to do, and he's going to just do it anyway.
Sick.
Yeah, like that. And I only learned that about a year ago, and when I read it, I was like, yeah, that's really true. But I think the inflection point for me was when we had a company breakdown a few years back, and there was 3 of us in the company, and it was a bit easier to lean on other people in that sense. And when it was just Owen and I, that was a real moment for me. It's like, okay, yep, let's go, let's do this.
Wow.
Yeah. So I've never really had an issue being that person, but that was a big inflection point for me. I was like, okay, it's time to run this.
Taking responsibility.
Yeah, bigger responsibility.
Yeah, that's a big step, man.
It's a big step, and it was it was exactly what I needed at that time, though. Yeah, it's just like, all right, let's go. So the universe delivers exactly when you need it, right?
Yeah, and you're only, like, I suppose in that point in time, given that you'd worked with other people that I assume would have had a certain role and responsibility in the business, it's like you're confined to a certain level of knowledge, and that you only know what you know at that point in time. So for most people to actually grow and expand, it is about challenging that edge of discomfort. And it's the same in surfing and probably in cycling. It's like when you're out there in 10-foot swell and you're used to surfing 5 or 6 foot swell, you're going to be challenged. But what's waiting on the other side, if you can commit and put everything on the line, that's, for me anyway, and what I've experienced in relationships, business, life, that's the beauty of life. That goal, that's the essence of, I think, what we're all searching for.
That's a massive behavioral thing that we try to bring on in our coaching clients, is like welcoming a challenge.
Nice. Yeah.
Because challenge can crush people, right? It depends on what your relationship with challenge is. And some people, it can melt them. It's like, well, the fear comes in, no, don't want to do that. And they'll stay here forever. No matter if it's, not good, they'll just be like, no, better the devil I know than the devil I don't, and, or what we try and train into people is like, really welcome a challenge. Like if there's a great line that Peter Crone says, if it's not life-threatening, it's just ego-threatening.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
And most stuff nowadays is really just ego-threatening. So if we can welcome in a challenge and become a person that says, you know what, this is going to be tough, but I welcome it because, and then if you consistently prove those things to yourself in your life, then like you were saying, what's on the other side of that challenge is a really cool thing.
It's like a big part of life, but I think where people potentially go wrong, I don't know what you guys are saying, I'm interested to hear your perspective. I was talking to a friend the other day about positive feedback loops. And I think some people we talk about challenging our edge, but there's a key word that was maybe missing there about challenging an edge compassionately, in the sense that some people will stretch themselves so far that they don't get the positive feedback loop from the challenge. Like it feels so unachievable that it's like the whole world is against them, that it's like a burning fire that can't be put out. When if you were just to light a match and put it out, with a saliva in your thumb and finger, it's not that hard, right? And you might get that positive feedback of going, okay, I can do that. Setting the next challenge and then the next challenge. And I think so many people see business, the journey of building an offer is probably the most daunting thing for someone that's never done it. But if you define who you're talking to first, like, okay, cool. What are you doing next?
Yeah, one step at a time. Where I see a lot of people get tripped up is thinking that what they're creating now is the end result.
Yeah.
And that it's going to be that forever.
Yeah.
And that's what stalls people. Because as we were talking about yesterday at the cafe when we met, it's like offer creation is really interesting because you create it and you're going to create another one. And the next one might be next week. After you run a test, like you like the match. The match is a test. And then you like another match and another match. And we'll see it happen with people even posting content, for example. It's like they put so much weight and emphasis on like one post and like it stalls them and they take no action and there's no momentum, no movement because it's just, it has to be perfect or it has to be this or it has to be the finished product and it has to come from my ideal future self. But it's like, how do you think you're going to get to that point if you don't just do the first step?
Yeah.
And like, there will be another day tomorrow. It's not always promised, of course, any of us can die at any point, right? Or like the world can just go dark, like who knows, right? Like, we don't know. But going off of the law of averages, like we're going to probably have another day tomorrow. Yeah. And with that day, you can just try again and just go again. If you run the offer and it doesn't work, okay, just go again. And I think people are putting so much weight and emphasis on when I get to X, that's it, I'm going to be done. Life's going to be great. But I've experienced multiple versions of that with cycling, with the previous businesses that we've had, with the academy, with the online academy. Now with the coaching and mentorship, it's like we'll come up with an offer, we'll change the structure of how we approach things. And then a year later, it's irrelevant again. Yeah. And it's like we have to, and like that's why we're here in Bali now, because tomorrow or today we're traveling to a coach's mastermind to get a new perspective on, okay, well, what is it that we might need to change now as we move forward with the model and how we present offers. And in the meantime, I think what's missing for most people when it comes to, say, let's creating a digital business or a business like we're trying to create, which has a bit more freedom kind of baked into it, is the consistency with personal brand in between the figuring it out.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
So there's a heartbeat of the business that just has to keep going. Like our body has the pulse, or like our pulse or our heartbeat. I think that should be people's personal brand, where they're just consistently just showing up. And I am this person, this is what I'm about, these are my values. And then every once in a while, you'll do a workout. And the workout is like the offer slid across the table. Yeah. And like people will buy it because they're used to the kind of threshold of your brand. Like that's just a new way. I've never really thought about it like that before. But I think that's what's kind of the missing link. And when people stall, what happens when a heartbeat stalls? Flatline's dead. And then it's so much more difficult. People like us, coaches, or people who are helping people with offers or whatever, it's like we have to come in and do fucking CPR and like start pumping the fucking business again. When it's like you could have just stayed consistent all that time. Get a little bit of maintenance, take the stairs instead of the elevator sometimes. Keep the business and the body in check. And that's been what's worked for us over the years. It's just being consistent, and then we just know we don't put all of our eggs in one basket when it comes to each offer that we put out.
I love that idea in business, and you probably would have seen it in the content game as well. It's like there is that thing banking on, this next post is going to be the one. It could be, but if it's not, number one, you're going to be okay, and number two, you're going to try again. And I would love to hear from your perspective, like working with those massive companies. I'm sure there was like a constant feedback loop, and it was probably like a big experiment all the time, wasn't it? Like how many different campaigns or pieces of content would you run at any given time to work out which one was the one?
Yeah, it was insane. The thing is, like you guys are kind of saying, it was like if we overplanned, like if we put so much pressure on something working, it often didn't work. And what I've found is like a golden thread through my life with the idea of being a creator. Like I'd like to see myself as a creator rather than a business owner. Like I'm fueled by the idea of having an idea and just going, doing it and building it and creating it. And whether that's writing a song or creating a piece of content or creating an offer or helping someone build something, it's always like, here's an idea. It just comes to me. Let's go and build it. And with these brands and these companies, our offer was literally baked into this idea of we could create almost like a factory of ideas. Like we had this team that could pump out 30 to 90 TikToks a month, but it was about the intersection between data and creativity. And so we kind of baked this creative, I suppose, crazy concept into real world data and science that grounded the brands in reality. And then there's definitely an art and a science to like understanding data and why a piece of content works from both an organic and a paid perspective. But I felt like it was these moments of like, I can see it. And then sharing that with the brand and then them feeding off that energy. And then it was this crazy, like almost like a hypothesis, and then just letting go and seeing it almost like a game and then going to the next one and having that same sort of like game-like mentality to content. And I think that's been a thread throughout my life where it's like, don't try and overthink it too much. Just like if you love the idea and you're bullish on it and you believe in it, then it could work, but it might not. And anything on top of that is a blessing. So like if you can kind of change your mindset from being, I'm creating content for this outcome, more being like, I'm creating content for the love of expressing myself, then that's all that matters, right?
Yeah. For the process and for the lessons that are in the process. And like that's what I've always seen and observed with you guys in CC when I met you first, and even with Noah and stuff. It's like there seems to be an element of like there's still fun, and like you guys are still in it, and the personality is still in the brand. And like you were saying, you had the grand piano in the office, and you guys would play after work, and like I think that's so important. Rather than getting too caught up in the data, because sometimes that's just a deflection from actually doing what needs to be done as well. It's like, if it doesn't meet this criteria, I can't post it. And it's all this like fear of like imposter syndrome, not being seen, like fear of being seen and all that kind of stuff.
I love that the crossover analogy of surfing is so prevalent throughout life, isn't it? Like there's so many crossovers, but I heard the Rory Sutherland, the marketing dude, he was on a podcast, and he was talking about modern day marketing and the mindset around it. And it was like, some marketers put so much pressure on everyone being gold. And he was like, the way I look at it is like, marketing is about, you just keep doing your thing, and every now and then you strike big gold.
Yeah.
You know, and like, and he was speaking, and it was one of our coaches who was interviewing him, and he said, how do you explain that to like VCs and all these people? And he was like, well, they should understand it the most. He was like, because their whole thing is built on, you don't strike gold every day, but when you do, it accounts for 90% of the other stuff that wasn't gold.
Yes.
You know, and I think in there where I'm going with that is like, it allows for the play and the experimentation, because it's crippling, right? If you think this one has to be the one.
Yeah.
Well, you're so like, it takes out all the art and the creativity and the fun, you know?
Yeah.
It kind of destroys that side of it. So yeah, I like seeing it as a bit more of an experiment like that. And if you can, but it takes a hell of a lot of inner work to not get overly emotional when that post you put so much work into doesn't hit.
Yeah, that it doesn't define you. Yeah.
Yeah, and not letting it define you, and not getting too emotional about that, and realizing, it's just a mechanism of business, and for my dream to live, and this idea to live in the world. Yeah, and it's like to keep just coming back to that piece, and I love the intersection there of the art and the science. We use it a lot when it comes to money and pricing. Right. There's an art and a science to price. Yeah. It's not all logical, because you can get a bit cold, and it can't just be all emotional either, because like, when are our emotions ever that reliable? You know, they are to an extent, but like when it comes to money, not always. So yeah, I love that. We use that often, and I think it's so important to mesh those together when it comes to anything. A little bit of data, a little bit of art, and then bring them together.
Yeah,
it's such a beautiful.
Definitely, I think. Yeah, it's so interesting, especially when you bring money into that, because so many creatives or creators or business owners, the biggest challenge that I see is that they don't see their worth. It's like, if they could see through my eyes, I just can't imagine what they'd be doing. You know what I mean? It's like, how do you put a price tag on your art? Same for any business. It's like, how do you put a price tag on the value of what I do? And it's all perception and positioning. And the funny thing is that when people get to see themselves through this lens or through an outside perspective, and they're grounded in why they're doing what they're doing in relation to the problem that they typically solve through that art or through their service or through their system, they then walk away with a bit of a conviction, a bit of a pep in their step. And then it becomes a game of just, again, we talk about meeting our edge compassionately, pushing that boundary and pushing that boundary. I'm interested to hear a bit more about your journey from obviously starting out being, you know, in the barbering world to then being coaches, and now where you guys are today. Such a journey in how you value yourself and how you price what you're doing, and how other people do that as well, you know, holding space for people to provide that. What does that look like over time? Like how?
One of the big ones for me, like my mind works quite logically, so I'll just run it out how it works in my head. The big personal development journey for me was going from that service-based trading time for money. I do a haircut, you pay me. I do a haircut, you pay me. Every 45 minutes, there was this constant like transaction wheel, dopamine hit of like pay. You know, that was how my mind worked in terms of getting paid. Then, and that was very transactional. I do this thing for 45 minutes, you give me X. Yeah. And it was basically like that for that. Whereas the big transition was like, oh, I can't think like that anymore. Detaching my time for money to like, well, how do I price what I do now? And it was going from that, delivering a service, to, problem solving. And I love where you just went with that. It's like, then how do you put a price on the size of the problem that you solve? Yeah. Well, we're in offer creation land now, and it's like, you kind of making it up. You know, it's all about, again, perception, positioning, and brand, and it's a whole concoction of things. There was a line that when I was in the hair world, at the time I read this interview with this hairdresser in New York. She was like known as the most expensive hairdresser in New York. Yeah. And this was many years ago. And I think it was around like $200-300 for a haircut. Right. People pay way more than that now. But and the interview was like, how do you justify the price? She said, well, let me tell you. She was like, all of my clients leave my chair happy. And she was like, can you put a price on happiness? Wow. And they were like, I guess you got me there. But so she was really leaning into the feeling, and that's kind of what we do now, is like, the feeling of those problems being solved, what we do for people now, they're kind of priceless. You know, so then it's about us using the art and the science of where we're at and the size of the problem that we solve and the market value that it brings and the perception to kind of come up with the sort of price.
Wow, I love that.
So that was a massive that was like, that could have been really hard. Thankfully, I moved through it quite quickly. And I think with, you know, Eoin and I have many conversations on this, and Owen's very heart driven, I'm very head driven. So it's like a beautiful mix of like, we can help each other understand what's going on.
Yeah.
You know, pull me through to that side. So that's kind of where my head went with that on a logical basis.
I love that.
Yeah. Could have been a challenging journey, but thankfully moved through it pretty quickly. And now it's like, I think it's a blessing because I can help people in their service-based businesses now be like, guys, if you just lean into like the feeling on the other side of this, like you said, it's like, you know, the size of the problems that you'd be solving for people, the feeling behind that is like elation. You know, can you put a price on that?
Yeah.
Like, not really.
No.
You know, we're in like...
I think it's one of the most high leverage things you can do is to alleviate or to provide clarity or to create an aha moment. And it's interesting you talk about service-based businesses because I obviously work in a realm of that and have supported people through that and have gone through that myself. Most people come to me saying, I do X for this amount of time to create this outcome and I charge this. Often, you know, you talk about this thing of creating feeling and leaning into feeling to price yourself. All I'm trying to get them to see is they are consultants. They are not the doer. And the moment that they move their mindset out of being the doer into a teacher or a consultant or someone that holds the knowledge, they can price themselves out whatever they want. So like often brand designers come to me being like, I charge $80 an hour to do a brand identity refresh. And I'm like, well, in that, like, what's the most high leverage thing you do? And it's often they're able to see what a brand should be before the brand owner does. And I'm like, that itself is the most insane skill. Why aren't you charging for that? And why aren't you just doing that?
Yeah.
You know?
And if you can quantify like the average return you would get for somebody with the thing that you give them, I think that gives you a ballpark like figure as to like what you can charge.
Yeah.
Right. Like, so I had someone message us this morning that I did a one-off. We don't do this often, but we do one-off strategy sessions. And like, we'll just put it out as a flash offer. It's like $500, it's an hour.
Nice.
We'll give you some direction. This girl came back to me. She said, yeah, implemented what we spoke about in the call. First 2 weeks, we're up $5,000 in revenue. And I'm like, fantastic. Okay, so that every month now you're going to earn an extra 10K. So for $500, her business has $120,000 extra.
That's insane.
Like, we should be charging way more.
Yeah.
Like, I get angry about this sometimes with Leigh, because I'm like, how the fuck are people not seeing this already? Like, this is so simple. Like, that's a very simple like thing, because we hold the knowledge, right? But to do that, we've had to switch out of the symmetrical returns and start to think of like asymmetrical returns. So like Leigh was mentioning, the hair industry is symmetrical returns.
Yeah.
I do this, I get this. Like what you were saying, I do this, I get $80. But how is it? And this is where my brain kind of goes with it. And my life experience kind of leads me to this point too, because I witnessed my grandfather become very wealthy, like way wealthier than a lot of other people that I know, almost everyone that I know. And I'm like, how is it that he did that and all the rest of them didn't? He must have had a different belief system than everybody else. And he must have just believed that he can get the 10-foot wave. And he just tried it. And when nobody else tries it, who's going to win or who's going to get the wave?
Yeah.
He probably is.
Wow.
At least if he tries it like a couple of times, you might fail a few times, but all you got to do is catch it once.
Yeah.
And then you've got enough resources to catch it again.
Yeah.
You know. So like for him, he must have went from, well, I'm only going to earn X amount per hour in this job. If I do it myself, and it's just the questions that we ask ourselves. It's like, what is the inner narrative in the belief system? Can I actually do it? Am I committed to doing it? Can I make it happen? And it's going from the symmetrical returns to the asymmetrical returns. And I think for us, a lot of it was just putting ourselves around people and observing and witnessing like what they were doing. And it's almost like world bending, mind bending stuff. Like the coach we're going to go and see tomorrow, he's got a coaching business that has 97% profit margin. He earns over 100K a month. And it's like, he's keeping like, if it's 100K a month, he's keeping 97 and he's working 15 hours a week or 10 hours a week or something. It's like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Hang on a second. And then, I think a lot of people undervalue the talent and the skill that they have. So that's kind of the direction we want to go next with our business is instead of just working with barbers, it's like anyone who has a skill that we can package up and help them sell and promote it. That's what we want to help them do and do it from a heart-led place, something that lasts, has longevity and feels good from like a values perspective. And listening to what you guys were saying about like, how do you put a price on something? I think the only variable of control that we have with perception and positioning is again, back to personal brand. It's the only thing is brand or personal brand. I think personal brand is even bigger because people will buy from people.
Yeah.
So like the only variable we have, the heartbeat, is the personal brand. The more we focus on that, the easier it is for us to charge more because then it becomes a scientific equation later down the track because only so many people can buy your time. And then we're into demand and supply and like charging that way. So then the science comes back in and it becomes an equation again.
Yeah.
Like, so that's the way I think about it. Like, and
There's that line that I've been saying a lot that I heard Eoin Gatsby say on a podcast. He was like, there's this whole thing going around right now, like information's obsolete, right? Because of AI and stuff like that. He was like, but people will still pay for organized information. Because there's information, but then not everyone knows what to do with the information. So then next level is like organized information. People will pay for that. It's like, oh, now I know what to do with it. But who that organized information comes from is massive.
Yeah.
So like that's where brand comes into it, right? And it's like a faster track to being able to sell your stuff and your problem solving.
I think people these days are just paying so that they actually fucking do it. Like, anyone can use ChatGPT. Why is everyone not doing what we're doing?
Yeah.
Because sometimes they just need to put the skin in the game in order to actually just do it.
Make it happen.
Make it happen, yeah.
I love, we dig into money story a lot and the whole psychology and the patterns and conditioning around money story. I love that topic, but something that came up a lot this year, our masterminds, was the speed in which things can happen. So number one, the speed in which your business can grow, but number two, the speed in which you can actually make money.
Yeah.
I think right now, like you can make money very fast, like overnight. Some people become millionaires overnight, and it's being comfortable with that because historically the narrative has been, work hard because it's noble and it's a slow churn until the day you die and you might retire with enough money. That's the narrative in people's head. But I think it's getting comfortable with the speed in which you can actually set yourself up or free yourself or whatever the end goal is. That's something to really get comfortable with because again, all of this is great stuff to talk about, but a lot of it really comes back to your understanding of what money and time even is, right? Like well, what's the function? What do you believe it even is? And if money's an energy, it doesn't care how fast or slow it moves. Yeah. And it doesn't care who it goes to. And if energy can't be destroyed, it just changes form. Well, okay. Yeah. Well, it will go slow, fast to whoever takes the opportunity. And I think that's a big moment that's a big light bulb moment, especially I'll speak for myself, like understanding the speed in which things can happen. I have to be comfortable with that.
Oh yeah.
Because that can be that would be self-sabotage. If I block that moment, if I'm not ready for it to flow in a speed which I'm not comfortable with, I could just block that whole thing. So that's a huge one as well. The function of money, what even is it? What do people believe it is? How it's made, how it's created?
I'm fully with you on that. Like the way the energy concept of money is really interesting. I went through a phase during that growth wave that I talked about earlier, from 1 mil to 3 mil, where I thought it was impossible to do over 100K a month. It was like this ceiling that I'd placed, and we had to, we literally had to in order to pay our bills, because we hired all these people to fulfill all these projects that we just sold. And in order to maintain profitability, we had to do another 100K. And I sat down, and then in my little frame of reference, I was like, oh God, how the hell do you do that? And from an energetic perspective, the interesting part was I had a conversation with Noah, and he was like, well, why are you placing that ceiling on yourself? Why can't we do 500K? Why can't we do $1 million a month? And in my head, I was like, because it's not possible. Like, I literally felt it was so far out of reach. And what was really interesting was I had a chat with Noah around how he's perceiving it. He's like, we're going to do $500 in December. So $500,000 a month in December. And I know it and I can feel it. And in my head, I was like, whoa, I don't like this. This is a bit ego. Like, this doesn't feel real. Like, I don't believe it. You know, shut it down, tall poppy syndrome. Nah.
Yeah.
But it was almost like this trust and this knowing. And then, you know, we started doing this kind of morning meditation before work where we'd start kind of visualizing this golden energy. And it sounds a bit woo-woo, but fully believed that was the thing that helped me subconsciously rewire this ceiling. It was like this idea of like feeling what it would feel like to have the team looked after at that level. And within 3 months, we did 300K. And it was crazy. And then another 3 months and we did 500K. But the interesting part to this, coming back to your story about being ready for that extreme rapid time of growth, I think there's a really important lesson to learn around the subtlety here of control. Because although we did those numbers, it was like we had this belief that we had to do that, like this if this, then this mentality, that we would be successful, that the team would be happy, that everything would be okay. But we were so chaotically full and busy that there was another set of challenges. And we didn't value money anymore because it was like we can just keep growing, but it doesn't matter because of all this other stuff. And kind of coming back to that, it's like I think a lot of people have this idea of like, we need to do this to then do this. But maybe then there's this idea that when we have that rapid growth, that there's this ability to kind of pull yourself back and still have that subtlety of control rather than just going, we have to scale to the moon. Because I think we were talking about this earlier, that like, if you can't get your system or your product right, I think Naval talks about this, like if your product isn't right before you scale, then you don't have a business, you're not going to have a retained base of customers.
I love that, what he says. It's like, stay small until you've figured it out. With the big, not in here, but just the actual logistics small.
Yeah.
And then, because everything's just a test and measure until you've found a repeatable, scalable, feels good model, and then scale that. So like, I feel like we've been at that point for a while now. Something hasn't quite felt right with the barbers. We love working with the barbers for now, but something hasn't 100% felt right to take that to over 100K a month. So it's like, let's just stay, like, I feel now, as you were talking there and you're talking about the mountains, I thought of like, all right, Mount Everest, right? A lot of people want to scale Mount Everest and climb Mount Everest. It's like, I think we've just been at base camp, like looking at it and thinking, how are we going to approach, like which side are we going to go up? Like what path are we going to take? Which one feels best for us? Are we going to do the really steep one that's going to be super fucking hard and like we might get there or might not, or might kill ourselves in the process? Or are we going to just wait here and like watch some other people climb it first? And we're comfortable here, got enough resources, we're adapting to the altitude, and then we'll take our path when we're ready, you know? I think that's been one thing, like I said this on another podcast we did recently, I'm super proud of in our journey so far, is we didn't get too many moments of like the woman in the red dress or the shiny object syndrome, or listening to like, because we're around smart people all the time and we could listen to their advice all the time. But ultimately, I think we do a good job of tapping into like the feelings, and then we're not too focused on like, what if we don't do something today? Like, it's not going to like make the biggest difference. But I'm in a conflicting place all the time between those two states where I'm like, should I be going? Should I be back? Should I be going? Like, where am I right now? And while I'm in that state, I don't think it's the best state to like make big decisions. You know, it's like the decisions will unfold and things will happen as they happen, and we'll get given signs and shown signs. But I think a key part of all of it is just observation, I think, of the world, the market, the way things are moving, what feels good for us, like our internal dialogue and our feelings. And then who to listen to, right? Because I think a lot of people still approach business in the industrial mindset of like, and where has the ceilings that you were talking about, where have they come from? School, like the school system, the industrial model, they've come from that, where it's symmetrical returns. So a lot of people are trying to operate in an asymmetrical world with a symmetrical mindset, you know, and it doesn't match up. So it's trying to like we could do, for example, when we transitioned from hair into education, it went from a very small ticket, symmetrical thing to a less frequent thing, but higher ticket. So it balanced itself out. And now we went from that to the coaching mentorship space, which we get more returns for our clients. The more we have returns for them, the more we get in return as well. But like, as we've transitioned through each period, the biggest transition was from the barber to the educator. And I think I don't try to label myself too much. I don't know if you remember this, Leigh, but when we first started, I used to say this all the time. I was like, but if we worry about the pennies, we're going to forget about the pound. Like, there was a period of time when we were transitioning from hair into education where we had to stop cutting hair. It got to a stage where it's like, we need to leave money on the table right now so that we can have the pound later.
Yeah.
You know, so like, we walked away from hair. We could have earned 5-6 grand a week cutting hair, but it would have taken 40-50 hours a week. But instead, for a period of time, a year, maybe even longer, we didn't pay ourselves. We paid ourselves very little. And we bought our time. We saw our time as valuable as we saw our money. And I think that's what is confusing for people as well. It's like, they're not seeing their time as valuable as their money.
Yeah.
Because and I think what blocks it is the lack of vision for the future. Like, we could see where that was going to go for us purely because we've been in rooms with other people who were doing it.
Yeah, you bought your time. Yeah,
100%.
you invested in.
For example, Kerwin Ray, or even Charlie Gray, the very first mentor that we bought, right? He's a guy in the hair industry. And like, when he sold us the mentorship, I did the maths on like how much he made, because he had like 10 people in the mentorship. We all paid like 6 grand each or something. And it's like, he just made 60K. I was like, he just made what I would make in a year from this. I was like, ding, ding, ding. I was like, this is the way forward. It's like, I'm capable of doing that. Why don't we do that?
Yeah.
And then, but it takes a period at base camp or even training camp before you get to base camp, where you have to just go through the hard yards and maybe take less money in the meantime. But if you worry about the pennies, you'll always be at the pennies.
Yeah.
You'll never have the pound.
Yeah.
And like, I remember one barber said to me at one time, I was living with the guy, and he was like, some client reached out, wanted a haircut, wanted to pay me $200, but I was in deep work, working on the academy at the time, like packaging up all of our AP. And I said no, and I gave them to the guy that I was working with or living with. He said, why would you not do that? I was like, because if I take $100 now, I'll miss out on the $100,000 later.
Nice. Yeah, makes so much sense.
And in our first year, we did like $250,000 or something, like, because of that period of time.
That's crazy.
So yeah, it's just an interesting way to think about it.
Yeah, I think so many people can learn from that. And that idea of buying, I love the idea of like you actually buying back your time, because yeah, so many people get stuck in chasing tail, always over delivering, undercharging, and it's that loop.
Yeah.
And to actually break that loop, like I think there's a lot of patterns in people's lives, whether it be business, relationships, habits, whatever they're doing. To actually break that loop is so hard because it's a pattern. And what most people don't realize is there is another way. And it's often, like you were saying, an asymmetrical path that they can't see. But to invest in yourself and to actually make that leap for someone is like probably the best thing that you could ever do.
Until someone comes along, right, and shows them, like, that's the thing. They can't see the journey until it's like laid out in front of them.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's just about like putting yourself in an environment or in rooms where you're constantly exposing yourself to that and giving yourself the reminder that it's possible. Because the majority of the world, 90+% of people are stuck in the patterns, like you were saying, because it is a pattern.
Yeah.
That's the way I like to look at it too, because what has society and culture put in front of us? The 9 to 5, and then the concept that was created of the weekend, where you go out and spend all your money from the 9 to 5.
Yeah.
And then it's just the repeatable cycle where it's back in.
Yeah.
But it takes a level of like belief and commitment to think that you can like get out of that and do something different.
Yeah.
And it's just having bravery and being willing to like step back and have a bit of humility and not maybe get paid so much, but create something and believe that you can do it later.
Yeah. I think in that notion, I fully agree that it's bravery and seeing the path. But I think one of the big unlocks for me throughout my journey was someone actually helping me see the pattern. I'm keen to riff on that with you, but my experience with that was like, when I think about why I'm doing all this, my first thought that comes to mind is freedom. And my pattern, which is really interesting, and it's still something I'm working through, is that I have this pattern of feeling this pressure to work so that I can be free, right? Like, why? To be free. But the pressure that creates means that I'm not free. It means that I'm always feeling like I'm having to do more, to be productive, to push for a higher salary month or whatever that means. Yeah, yeah.
I'm feeling it.
Yeah. And what actually changed everything for me, which was a huge unlock, was a mentor guiding me through my inner parts and understanding where that pressure first started. And for me, believe it or not, it was a teenage boy. My grandfather, probably similar to you, was a very successful person out of the military, has that traditional mindset, worked really hard, created a tech business and killed it. He's a really inspiring guy. Someone that I think is my hero. Like, I looked up to him my whole life. But he paid for my school fees because both my parents worked 2 to 3 jobs and struggled. And so there was always a pressure to perform. And I received love when I performed, when I accelerated in school, or when I did this, or when I started this business, and when I did this. But it never felt enough. It felt like, critical. There was always something that I could have done better. And I took on that mindset. And so my mentor did this thing called IFS, or parts work. You guys have probably come across it. Mm-hmm. We did my internal mapping, and this part that came up for me in the moment was Graham. And I was like, interesting. Had no idea why I named him Graham. And then 2 weeks later, we went deeper into the practice. And my mentor was like, just out of curiosity, what's the name of your grandpa? And I was like, Graham. And then I was like, oh my God. And so doing the work to actually see your part that is creating the pattern is actually the thing that then allows you to go and take action on the steps. Because you can see almost from like a removed perspective that the emotion isn't chaining you down to the ground anymore. You can now actually free yourself and take the steps. So I think when we talk about business and taking action, and like, it is the ultimate journey of inner work and personal development.
100%. And like, when we're helping people as well, like, that's a great, awesome insight. Mm-hmm. When we're helping people as well, what we need to remember, and especially if it's in like a shorter form context, like if someone reaches out to us and it's an hour, for example, we don't have enough context on who they are in their life yet to be able to help them at the highest level. That's why longer term relationships work better, and going deeper with people. Because I totally agree. Like, I went into the Kerwin Ray world and thought I was gonna scale my business to the moon. Yeah. And I ended up fucking crying for a year. Like, but it made me understand my patterns too. And very similarly to yours, I have very similar ones. And that's probably why we connected as we did at the time. And that was the driver of the conversations we were having back then. It's like that constant need to perform for validation, or to prove that I'm worth it, or so I don't get abandoned, or it all comes back to that ultimately. And if that's the driving force, that's why people won't post the content, or they'll put the emphasis on the data. Yeah. No, it's the data. No, it's the trauma. Yeah. It's not the data. Yeah. Stop using the data as an excuse. It's not. It's actually the traumas. And like, trauma is a big word that's thrown around, but I don't think it needs to be that deep. It's like, just go and explore it. Yeah. It'll be the best, most liberating thing you ever do. Yeah. Because that's where the freedom really comes from then.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm keen to hear your perspective on that.
Yeah. He was speaking to my soul there with IFS. But I read No Bad Parts, and just with like an incredible book. And there's a psychologist that I follow called Flint Skidmore, and he uses IFS a lot in his models, and he pairs it up with conscious choice like frameworks. And I think once you can explore all the parts of yourself, then you can start to choose how they come out in the world, like the parts. So there's this whole thing of like breaking down what you fundamentally believe to be right and what you think you know. So like this whole thing around like working hard, right? There's a money story tied in, a cultural money story tied to the nobility of working hard to get money. Well, there's a religious thread here, and I need to dive deeper into it, but I was listening to this lady speak about it, and she said, sometimes that's been left behind culturally through religion as a get closer to God move. Like, wow. But if I work hard, what's why work hard? What, like why? What's the function of work?
Coming back to it, yeah.
But it's noble. Or why do you want to be noble? So I can get close to God.
Wow.
Oh, okay. So if we tie a thread all the way back, that's what I was saying earlier about it all depends on what you believe. You think you know about the function of what everything is. Wow. What's the function of money, time, your beliefs, all of this stuff, right? If you go really do it all the way back, and then only then can you, and that's why I love parts work, because to really meet those parts and understand what you think you know about them and what you think you believe. Because like how Moses says, if you can't explain your beliefs, they're not yours.
Wow.
You've been given them by someone, and then from conscious choice that you can then choose to turn the dial up or down. Is it useful? Is it not? What do I now think I believe I know or want or desire or feel? Or and that's where I love it. It brings us back to a point of nothing's right, wrong, good, bad. It's like what feels good.
Yeah.
Follow that.
Yeah.
And I think that's such a beautiful way to build life, and because people do it to us all the time, right? Like I had this experience in Sydney last year. I think this kid's like 21, Cameron from one of our guys' barbershops, and comes up to me and he's like, "Boys, what do I do now? What's this? What do I?" He wanted like the thing, and I was listening to him. I was like, "Stop you there." I was like, "I can tell you the thing." I was like, "But what feels good?" And he turned to me and he said, "How do I do that?"
Wow.
I was like, at 21, he's already forgotten how to feel. And that's why I love that modality, IFS, coming back into meeting all your parts, and then you get to choose what feels good and move through that. Because no one can tell you what's right, wrong, and different.
Because otherwise it's choosing you, like unconsciously, right?
Well, people will say to people like us, right, you've brought up the freedom piece. We speak about it all the time, freedom, choices, options, all that stuff. Someone can say, well, how do you know you're right? I don't know I'm right, but I know what feels good. And does it feel better to be restricted, constricted, suppressed, told what to do, confined in a 9-to-5 symmetrical return? Or does it feel better to welcome challenge, enjoy life, see asymmetrical returns, see what's possible, blah, blah. Well, and I can't tell anyone what's right, but that feels better to me. So I'm going to frame and build my life in a way that will move that way more than that way. And neither one's right or wrong.
And that's not like what a big piece of context that's coming up for me there as well is like, we're not saying that everyone has to do this either. Like, why can't it all just coexist? Why can't we just go and do this and then other people will do that?
Because that was what was,
it's all okay.
That was what was coming up for me earlier when you guys were riffing on the helping people to see the patterns more. That I think that's part of our job as great coaches and great marketers is to tweak that message and that dial and that signal resonance to show people in the most compassionate and loving way of like, I'm not telling you that you're wrong, but what I am saying is there is another way if you want it, and this is why it works for me, and this is why I love it.
Because the wrong thing's also a pattern, and it's their pattern of what they've been taught about the world. You know,
there's an obsession with right and wrong, and that's comes back to IFS of like and conscious choice about what you think you know about things. It's like some people are so convicted that there is a right and wrong. It's like, and I love the thing Ty Lopez says, he's like, never have a conviction, always have a thesis. Thesis on everything. It's like, because the moment you start to believe your own bullshit, you're in trouble.
You are.
Like the moment you start to believe,
buying into your own delusion.
Always open to, and I think that's part of the magic of what Eoin and I do, and I'm sure you're the same. I'm always open to being shown another way. That's why we're going to this mastermind this week. Like this guy, he's making 100K a month, not profit, but he's shutting it down. You know, some people be like, oh, what went wrong? What? Like, I'm not interested in what went wrong. I'm interested in what are you seeing, because I'm open
what went right.
Seeing, what went right, what worked, and what are you seeing? Because I'm always interested in having my perspective radically shifted and to welcome a challenge. So, that's all of that is hard to put into a short form reel of like, hey, this is why you should listen to me. You know,
that honestly is the most high leverage thing you can ever give someone.
100%.
Like, I think that's been my journey recently in like coaching, mentoring. Like, what I'm doing is like helping people on that mentoring consulting side, but then having the team to help them go and do the things. And like we were talking about before with value and pricing, it's like I could think through deliverables and outcomes and stuff, but to communicate that to someone is, like you're saying, so hard when it's like they don't even know their own patterns or beliefs right now. The interesting thing you were talking about before about commitment and letting go, often the thing that they want so badly, like under that or behind that like, I have to do this, like it's a must, that pressure is often the problem. And that's often what starts the commitment, but that often is what makes it so hard to let go. So you can kind of see it as like an intro and then an exit. Most people don't do the exit, you know?
I love it. And that's what underpins conscious choice, because what that reveals to me, I love just looking at human behavior. Anytime anyone comes to me with a problem or whatever's happening in an industry or market, it just reveals a bit about human behavior. And what that reveals to me, if someone says, I have to do this, they feel like I have to, it shows me that they haven't chosen it.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's like, are you choosing life, or is it being chosen for you? And this was a massive unlock for me that Flynn Skidmore said. He was like, most people haven't been told that it's okay to have a list of preferences on how your life goes.
Yeah.
We have never been told that it's okay you can choose.
Yeah. Let
We
go.
haven't been told that. And most people don't think that that's okay. And that's very uncomfortable for a lot of people. You want to sit on your ass today? As long as you're choosing it. I can't tell you if that's good or bad. It's like you must choose it. And like you were saying, if you want to scale bro to the moon, great. But as long as you've chosen it, because when you choose it, off of the feelings that feel more aligned and don't, you're always going to be in a state of joy. Like, because it literally brings you joy. You're never going to feel like, oh, I have to do this. It's like, but if you fall back into I have to do this, it shows that you haven't chosen it, and it's choosing you. And there might be parts of those things that just have to happen at times. But I love that. Are you choosing life, or is it being chosen for you? And then we unravel a massive thing of like, oh, if it's being chosen for you, who's choosing it? And then it's like stories, patterns, and then we start to and who's saying it? Oh yeah, mum, dad, teacher, friend, and are those reliable sources? Not really, because they're not overly happy and they're not joyful. And so we're back to conscious choice again. Okay, so now that you have all of that, you've met yourself, you realize that the choices that you're making weren't leaning towards joy. Now that you know it's okay to have a list of preferences in life, should we choose a different way? Yeah, let's do that. And then all of a sudden you birth like this whole new view of the world, and it helps you just to look at everything differently. I get to choose what I think and believe about money. I get to choose and think what I believe about love. I get to choose and think what I believe about conflict, or what someone says, or a nasty comment, or a good comment, or
that's freedom.
So and I love where you went with freedom. I think again trying to define what freedom is, and I think for a lot of people it's choice. It's choice, because choice still has parameters. You have to put parameters around your choices, because I think freedom scares people sometimes, because they're like, and it is scary, because again, life with no parameters is chaos, right? And
we've been conditioned to think about how freedom is positioned as well. Like we haven't even chosen what freedom is.
You think about
freedom is like sitting on a beach with a fucking margarita while you're on break from your job. Like, that's freedom. But what the real freedom is for me is this. That's why we call it the business unlimited. Without limits. It's like
an unlimited life.
Unlimited life. That's to me. That's what freedom is. Like, what doesn't, because it's individual. It's unique to the person. And that's why we called it what we did. And like, I think that combined with people submitting to labels, because we're conditioned and put through a system that gets you to try and choose a label for yourself. When you're just leaving school, what is it you want to be? What is it you want to do? What is it you want to be when you grow up? And it's like, that's all designed to constrict you and put you in a box. To think, the conditioning pattern is to think that you're a finished product. When all of us, a thread that we spoke about in the podcast so far, or the conversation, is that we're never a finished product. So everything that you or we have been conditioned to believe, we must question and choose consciously again for what are the new things I want to believe.
Rarely are we asked.
Playing within the rules of the game, because there's still a game to be played. We still have to pay tax, we still have to run a business the way a business runs, but it's like, but how can we influence it ourselves?
That's why I think our work in our industry can get we push a lot of buttons. I think we poke a lot of holes in things, and it's not often received. It is received by a small group of people really, really well, for those that are kind of seeing this kind of vibe, but for a lot of people it isn't, because it really challenges the way that they see a business in a marketplace. So we kind of flip it on its head. It's like, once you want to see life this way, it's like, I'm no longer married to a vehicle or a mechanism. It's like, my business is designed is the vehicle that I use for my choices in life to live. Like, how do I want to feel? My choice is my freedom. I use my business to get that done.
Yeah.
You know, when you choose, and it all just, I've rarely found a model that works better, because what feels better? You know, love, joy, warmth, compassion, or, you know, struggle, hate, blah, 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 blah. Like, most people on the planet would say love, joy, compassion. And once all your decisions come from that point, it's amazing, because some people would say, oh, well, if you're just using your business as a vehicle for your dream to live, it's like, well, wouldn't that mean you do it at all costs? It's like, no, not when it comes from conscious choice, because every decision is chosen from the place of my preferences of how I want to feel and be in the world, and who and how I want to be in the world. And imagine if that was implanted in kids at 16 years old when they're leaving school. They'd be like, instead of saying, what do you want to be? What do you want to do? It's like, how do you want to feel?
Yeah. How does your nervous system feel every day? What environment needs to create that? Yeah.
Where does the anger from people come from? Is the inner turmoil that they can't articulate. And I think that's probably where it all comes from. The last 10 minutes of conversation.
Yeah, it's crazy. The inner turmoil. Yeah, and there's so many people that are so successful that are driven by that inner turmoil. But we were talking about this earlier, that like they get the thing, they reach the top of the mountain, and then they're left in this kind of void or this abyss where it's like, when is enough? And when I've hit that, then what am I left with? And this gaping void internally of, what does this all mean? And why am I here? And what am I, like, how do I feel good if I've achieved a thing and I still don't feel good? And what's going on?
It's again, it reveals to me that I haven't chosen it. It's for them again. You know, it's a really quick, simple thing, and like, you get addicted to the chaos. You know, we spoke about that over a coffee. Like, it's some people are addicted to chaos because that's their set point, and it's that question again. So, would you prefer to feel that way? I can't tell you whether it's right or wrong, or whether you should or shouldn't. But my question to someone like that is, would you prefer to feel this way? Yes or no? No. Okay, are you willing to find a different way? And that takes a hell of a lot of humility in it, but that's like the domino effect then. Yeah. You know, because that starts to unravel their whole life, and that's scary for a lot of people.
And it's often that thing that we talk about, taking the other path or choosing another way, that often comes from those unlocks, not necessarily from the steps, because I think the steps are easy. Like you said, you can find it on ChatGPT.
It's the same stuff.
You can learn it on YouTube. But the investment in the unlock, or that highest leverage moment of that aha, or that almost subconscious or inner reveal of clarity and truth, that is often the thing that allows you to see the other way. Yeah, I think that's a really interesting thing. Like, people talk about, I mean, I throw the word around high leverage so much. People talk about that and don't define it. And I honestly think it is that exact source. It is the clarity and the essence of seeing yourself and seeing your position and knowing what needs to happen to then create the change, to then become the next version of yourself and reach that next level of feeling closer to that goal feeling, you know?
And that might look like staying at base camp.
Yeah.
You know?
Or going back down to the base.
That might look like staying at base camp. Who knows?
Yeah.
So anyway, let's wrap it up there.
We went deep.
Awesome. Awesome combo.
Thanks, boys.
Yeah, great to see you. We'll have part two. We'll have to go part two. Yeah.